Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla News episode 168. Yes, I am on the road, so it's going to be a little bit different this week, but all back to normal next week. Hopefully also the voice. But we have a lot of great news this week as Tesla is still dominating in the European overall car market, and Tesla is setting new sales record in China, and Tesla's virtual power plant has arrived in Europe, and GM is killing off their best-selling EV. And Mercedes is spitting some facts and will not follow the path of e-fuels. And it's now official. Tesla is now a bigger car brand than Audi. Boom. And all of this and much more in today's episode. So let's dive right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
Tesla is dominating in Europe. There is truly no competition in sight, and they reached a huge milestone here in Q1. But the Chinese EV models is also now coming for the European automakers here in Europe. As I talked about in my last news episode, Tesla sales and production numbers in China are going to look absolutely insane compared to last year as Gigafactory in Shanghai was shut down. But we can see the same thing happening here in Europe, as we last year had the Berlin factory coming online and production numbers was very small, but now they are above 5,000 units a week and rising. So I am guessing that the max production capacity could hit something like 78,000 units in Q2. So that is going to be almost 10 times in production for the Model Y coming out of the Berlin factory in Q2 2022 compared to last year. So the best-selling car in Europe might just continue to be the best-selling car in Europe. 78,000 units. That is pretty much as many cars as any other car brand sold of EVs in Europe for the entire year of 2022. Except the Volkswagen brand, but as much as BMW or more than Hyundai and Audi, or, you name it, sold less than that for the entire 2022 in Europe. This should put in perspective of just how big a deal this Berlin factory really is. One factory, one model to rule them all, and they are killing it. As we know, the Model Y did become the best-selling car of any kind in Q1 with its 71,000 units in Q1. But just look at the European best-selling car list. The European favorite, the Golf, is down 8% and only sold about 60% of what the Model Y did. I have no doubt that the Model Y will become the best-selling car in Europe in 2023. And look at one of the global favorites here on the list, the Toyota Corolla, down 17% and sold less than half of what the Model Y did. And you don't find any other EV on the top 25 list here. So what competition? Just look at the numbers here from March of BEVs sold in Europe. The Model Y is just up and beyond anything else out there. Then on second place comes the Tesla Model 3. Then on third place in March we found the Volkswagen ID.3, but it sold less than 1/5 of the Model Y sale. We can take all of the Volkswagen Group's cars on this list. The ID.3, the ID.4, Audi Q4, the Skoda Enyaq, the Cupra Born, and they have not even sold half of what the Tesla Model Y did in March. That will only get them to 28,995 units. So not really coming for Tesla there, are they? But look at number 4 here on the list. That is the MG4. Already surpassed the ID.4, and it's coming for the ID.3. It is a real competitor here. The MG4 in my country is like $4,000 cheaper than the ID.3, but it has a little bit more range, a little bit more charging speed, but can also do vehicle to load, and the MG4 can also preheat the battery, which the ID.3 cannot. So just on this fact alone, the MG4 should be able to charge about 25% faster in real life, and the MG4 does have a heat pump. You can get that with your ID3 as well, but you have to pay extra for that. So the difference will just be even greater. And the MG4 does have a little tow hitch that can tow 500 kilos. The ID3, you can only get this little hook for a bike rack. So I understand why the MG4 is catching up with the ID3, as it is simply just a better value for money. It is a better car, as CarWow and Top Gear also thought in their reviews. So this is truly the first of the Chinese cars that are coming for the European automakers. This is just the beginning. But wait a minute, do you remember the Jaguar I-Pace? We don't hear much about that anymore. That was so hyped and called the Tesla killer. How is that actually doing here in Europe? Is it getting close on killing Tesla? Well, in Q1, where we know the Model Y sold 71,000 units, well, the I-Pace, another great SUV, they actually a great SUV, but it sold 182 units. So the car that Mark Spiegel called vaporware.
This is sort of the vaporware Tesla Model Y that we will probably never see.
Is now the best-selling car in Europe and well on its way to become the best-selling car in the world. And his beloved Jaguar I-Pace, that he said was a Tesla killer, is quietly dying. But we did reach a very impressive and important milestone in Q1 for Tesla. As I predicted, Tesla would become a bigger automaker than Audi in 2023, but I said I think it will already be in Q1 of 2023, and that is exactly what just happened. Audi's global sales in Q1 was 415,700, and Tesla's global sales in Q1 was 422,000 units. So that was the first of the big German car brands. But it will not be the last to be overtaken by Tesla. But to me, as a European and an old fan of Audi's car, this is really a historic moment. Tesla is now a bigger car brand than Audi in unit sales. So much for all the talk about them catching up to Tesla. Now Tesla has caught up to them. Remember Audi CEO Deutschmann back in 2020 said that Audi is catching up to Tesla with 7-mile boots. Well, they sold 34,600 total EVs globally in Q1, so we are not really catching up with 7-mile boots, are we? Tesla just overtook Audi. Just so impressive. Next up, Mercedes and BMW. And Volkswagen is doing worse than I thought in China, as they were down only 4% in new energy vehicles, still not good when new energy vehicles was rising 25% in Q1. But that seems to have been mostly plug-in hybrids. According to data released by the Chinese Passenger Car Association, the Volkswagen brand sold 16,611 EVs in China during the first quarter of 2023. This is a significantly decrease from the 27,101 units sold in Q1 of 2022, and a 56% decrease from the 38,437 units sold in Q4 of 2022. So it is not really looking good for Volkswagen in China. They don't even seem to be able to hit their target for 2022 from 150,000 to 200,000 units of their IDs sold in China. So with only 16,000 EVs in China during Q1, they look to be heading more for their 2021 numbers, where they sold about 70,000 units in China, also below their target of 100,000 units in 2021. So despite their 6 different ID models Volkswagen is offering in China, Tesla's single model, the Model Y, sold almost 6 times as many units in Q1. And some analysts are talking about Tesla having demand problem in China. No, Tesla just set a new quarterly record and a new monthly record in April, where Volkswagen just dropped 38%. But Volkswagen is just about to catch up, just like they said they would back in 2018 and in 2020 and in 2022. Herbert Diess said again that they think they can catch up to Tesla by 2025. But they have only fallen further behind every single year, except for 2020, where Volkswagen Volkswagen gained on Tesla as they tripled its production from 73,000 units in 2019 to 231,000 in 2020. So in 2020, Volkswagen was only 268,000 units behind Tesla, so that was when the Tesla Qs was screaming about how Volkswagen was catching up, and in 2021 it would be all over for Tesla. But then in 2021, Volkswagen was suddenly 485 units behind Tesla, and in 2022 they ended up with 737,000 units behind Tesla, and that was the entire Volkswagen group that is falling further behind Tesla. So I can't really see how they are supposed to overtake Tesla in only 2 years' time, as their sales were just down 38% in Q1 year over year in China, the biggest EV market in the world, and Tesla was up 27% in domestic sales in China year over year. And to put Volkswagen's small number of 16,000 EVs sold in Q1 into a little perspective, Tesla sold 77,000 EVs in just March. So Tesla sold 5 times as many cars in March as Volkswagen did of EVs in Q1 in China. That puts it in a little perspective when the mainstream media is trying to paint the picture that Tesla is doomed in China and demand problem, even though their numbers are up. Never really talks about Volkswagen EV sales in China that are actually down. Yep, the FUD campaign against Tesla continues. So I continue to try to spread the facts. Meanwhile, Tesla, they just execute. As we can see in April, with the last week of April's data missing, Tesla has already made the best first month of any quarter ever in China. Yeah, the demand problem is making Tesla set new sales record again and again and again. That's weird. But if you have been following the Tesla story, you know this is nothing new. The Tesla Q and haters are just saying the same thing over and over again. This is a tweet from good old Mark BS from 2021, when Tesla apparently was also seeing demand problems in China. And we had a hype story bullshit problem here, as Mark put it. But it all ended up just being Mark spreading bullshit, as Tesla today, 2 years later, is selling more than 4 times the amount a month as back then, and he thought they were going down. So it's just another year with Tesla making new sales records in China, while the Tesla Qs are out saying the same thing again. Demand problem in China. Sure, if you say so. And we had a very important announcement from Tesla Europe this week. As Tesla wrote, Powerwall can stabilize the grid by feeding power into the system in areas with high demand, helping reduce fossil fuel-based power generation. As part of a pilot project with Transnet BW in Germany, the first in continental Europe, Powerwall owners successfully contributed renewable energies to help support key sections of the grid. This project lays the foundation for the sustainable grid that's supported by clean community power. Yes, Tesla's first virtual power plant in continental Europe. This is such a huge and important piece of the puzzle to get to 100% renewable energy and the support our grid needs to handle the load of all the EVs that is going to be on the road in the near future, as this will support the grid and many households will get off the grid as well. In Europe, we already have over 1 million homes with solar and battery, but they still lack the software that makes this virtual power plant possible. Their solar and battery are just for their own uses, but when Tesla really gets into the game of Powerwall here in Europe, this is going to catch on like wildfire, as solar and batteries has already caught on, but we're just missing Tesla software to make it much better and able to support the grid and not just save money for the owner. So when you hear people talk about the grid can't handle a load of all those EVs, well, they are kind of forgetting that our grid and energy system is also being disrupted. They are looking into the future with yesterday's technology and also forgetting that we need about half the amount of energy when everything is run on renewables than fossil fuel. And they're also forgetting that the houses will generate its own electricity with solar and batteries, and every community will generate its own energy with solar, wind and battery storage system. The grid is being disrupted just as well as the ICE car is being disrupted. And Mercedes is spitting some facts and will not follow the path of e-fuels. Mercedes will favor technology superior electric motors over combustion engine powered by e-fuel, CEO Ola told a German newspaper. Ola reaffirmed that the company's plan to develop electric-only vehicle architecture. We already said 4 years ago that our new vehicle fleet across the entire value chain should become CO2 neutral in the balance sheet by 2039. This is our goal. Ola said the advantage of EVs in power efficiency, which he called sensationally good, and drew attention to the zero emission factor, which said e-fuel vehicle cannot match, and also said the electric car is still a young technology compared to the combustion engine. We still see great potential for progress. The electric drive will overtake the internal combustion engine in terms of performance before the end of this decade. I think he's talking about range and charging speed here, as the Plaid Model S is clearly already by far more powerful than anything Mercedes have ever produced. And Ola also said that the automaker is still working on making ICE fit for the new Euro 7 emission standard, but added that by 2026 Mercedes will reduce investment in ICE vehicles by around 80%. Nice to hear this coming from the legacy automakers. Mercedes dropped hydrogen after 30 years of development, as it would always be too expensive, and is now saying e-fuel is not the way to go. Bravo, Mercedes, as e-fuel will even be more expensive than hydrogen and still pollute our air. So thanks, Mercedes, for showing the way here, unlike Ferrari and Porsche that have fought against the Euro 7 plan to phase out ICE engines by 2035, and they will benefit from the plan to accept cars run on e-fuel from the European Union planned ban of 2035 of combustion engines. As they said, the good news for us as a company is that on top of electric cars, we will also be able to go on with our internal combustion engine ones, Ferrari CEO said. This decision is very interesting for us because it allows ICE to go beyond 2036. No, it don't. Who will burn or even produce this overpriced, polluting fuel in 12 years' time? No one, as the market will be so small it will never become a profitable business. Or are you willing to pay $1,000 to take your car for a spin? Not going to happen. But big props to Mercedes for focusing on the right path here, while many others are running around in circles. And do you remember this headline from 2017? We just drove the all-electric Chevy Bolt and Tesla is officially in trouble. And now we learn that the Bolt is officially in trouble, as it will be killed by the end of this year. What about this one from Business Insider? The Chevy Bolt is crushing the Tesla Model 3. Well, now the Bolt is just getting crushed, just like the EV1. But Business Insider was also the baboons that wrote in this article on how GM could put Tesla out of business tomorrow if they wanted to. Man, these articles did not age well. Or what about this one from Detroit Free Press? Tesla killer. GM to unveil long-range electric car. And now it's getting killed. So GM will no longer be making their best-selling EV, even though they write on the earnings report, delivering on our commitments. By killing your best-selling EV? Boy, your new ones really have to be ramped up fast to take over from the Bolt, to deliver on your commitments. But Chevrolet will launch several new EV models later this year based on the Ultium platform in key segments, including the Silverado EV, Blazer EV, Equinox EV, but let's hope they can ramp those up faster than the Hummer EV or the Lyriq. All the new models will not count for much. And it has just been funny to see the mainstream media media hype up this little electric car from GM like it was going to take down Tesla. But the Bolt has sold less than 160,000 units over the last 6 years and 1 quarter. Tesla sold about 260,000 units of the Model Y just last quarter. But GM expects to get to 70,000 Bolts sold this year. So they might just get to about 200,000 units sold before they kill off this little EV. And the recall they did of it last year because of the battery fire has cost GM about $2 billion, and GM has never made any profit on selling this EV. This EV has been nothing but a dumpster fire, just burning cash for GM. No, it was not a Tesla killer, just yet another Tesla killer that is being killed. Let's see how fast GM can ramp up their next EVs on the list, and let's see how long they get to stay alive. And Gary Black and Ross Gerber, that I have huge respect for, do not like Tesla cutting prices, but I do think their thinking is very short term, and Tesla is simply just not a short term company. Yes, it's cost them $550 million every time they cut cost of the Model Y by $1,000, but they also get an instant reaction in sale and can control the waiting list in real time and can open up Tesla to a much bigger addressable market every time they do so. Something advertising will never do. You can't advertise your way to a bigger addressable market. That's all about price. And you don't even know if the advertising campaign will work or when you will see the effect, but it will never open up a new market. Maybe more people will see it and think, wow, I want one. But if the price is not within their budget, it doesn't really matter. And Tesla is only doing what they have said they will do for the last 20 years. Drive down cost and push the savings to its customers. And again, the income Tesla can generate later through software has the potential to be worth a lot more than just $1,000 in price cut. So I think this is the right move, especially with everyone else having huge trouble right now with ramping up EVs. Tesla is setting themselves up to grow substantially through the next couple of years when the others are struggling and will end up dominating the overall car market. You don't do that through advertising, or else GM would be the leader, right? As they are advertising like crazy and Super Bowl commercials and everything. But remind me, how many Hummer EVs did they sell in Q1? Oh yeah, 2. Yeah, that was money well spent on advertising, yeah? Tesla will spend money on making the product better and get it out to a bigger addressable market and continue to cut the cost of operation. Long term, this is the right move, as the end game is dominating the car market. And as I said before, you can't do that through advertising. They might start at some point, but now is not the time. As Elon has said years ago, if you are here for the short-term profit, please sell our stock. Investing in Tesla is a long-term investment, but the people that do hold for the next decade or two will be rewarded. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this new show. Yes, it's time for the Tesla Shorts. And we saw Toyota hydrogen cars from 2017 for sale for only $14,000, but with a $15,000 fuel card as well. This is just ridiculous. They can't even sell these stupid things even if they pay for fuel. And don't forget, in 2022, the hydrogen car sales were down 19%. They are not growing, they are shrinking. And in all of 2022, hydrogen cars sold in the US were 2,707 units. Tesla will probably produce and sell that in the US over the next 2 days. I mean, this is ridiculous. And BMW and Toyota think hydrogen cars are going to be a thing is just beyond stupidity. Sales are down. Hydrogen stations in Europe are being torn down, like the 3 in the UK last year, and also some in Germany and Munich and so on. And BMW has made EVs in 2012. Since Tesla came out with the Model S, they could have been a leader in the EV race. but their leaders' incompetence will kill them. Waste time, money and energy on hydrogen and e-fuels, one more stupid than the other. And a place you might not hear much about in terms of EV is Costa Rica. But my supporter of the week from last week's news show, Jakob, shared this chart he has made for EV registrations in Costa Rica. And not only are their EV sales up 118% in March, but it's now also 5.9% of the car market. Very nice to see that EVs are also catching on in Central America. And just wait until we get Tesla's next generation model coming out of the Mexico factory. Then it will really start to take off. And in the Tesla Impact Report, Tesla showed off that Tesla's Berlin factory is the car factory on the planet that uses less water per vehicle they make. And we can see someone like Volkswagen use about twice the amount of water per car they make. Why doesn't NABU protest against Volkswagen and get them to lower their water consumption by half instead of protesting against Tesla that does it the best? Could that have anything to do with NABU being supported by Volkswagen with a lot of money through 15 years? No, probably nothing. And speaking of the Impact Report, I can highly recommend you go through it. It will give you a lot of great content to fight all the FUDs that's out there. I will only give a few highlights here. If you want to make a deeper dive, I will leave a link to the report down below. I'll go check out Dylan Loomis from Electrified. He did go through most of it in his latest videos. But I'll just wanted to highlight the battery degradation, as so many people think it dies as quickly as their laptop. Tesla show that after 200,000 miles, the Model S and X only drops about 12%. And I can vouch for that. My Model 3, I have driven over 100,000 miles, is only down about 5% in battery degradation. I do charge mostly at home, so slowly overnight and only to 80%. So I do take care of my battery, so as you can see, my max capacity is above 93% of the other Tesla Model 3s out there with this amount of mileage. So it does matter to take care of your battery. I only use superchargers and charge to high percentage on road trips. And the people that screams about EVs being too expensive, they are usually not taking true cost of ownership into calculation or just waiting for the smaller, more affordable models, because the Model 3 is already on price parity with equivalent ICE cars. So the premium ICE cars like the Audi A4, the BMW 3 Series, the Mercedes C-Class, Tesla is already cheaper than those three on the sticker price. But when we take true cost of ownership into the calculation, the Model 3 is even cheaper to own than a Toyota Corolla in just over 5 year span with 60,000 miles. And just look at Tesla's superchargers uptime here. If Electrify America made a similar chart, it would look very different. And one of the many reasons EV owners will flock over to Tesla superchargers, as I talked about in my latest video. And of course, safety. Here there is Tesla and everyone else, as you can see, exceeding safety standard across 4 continents. Just look at Europe NCAP, where we have all 4 vehicles. Best in class, best in class, best in class, and you guessed it, best in class. Tesla is just overall the safest car you can buy for you and your family. Highest score awarded. As you can see here, the Model S has a 4% higher score than the Mercedes EQS. The Model S is both quicker, faster, cheaper and faster to charge and safer than the EQS. But luxury, yeah, technology always tops luxury. And Elon might do a new website, as he wrote on Twitter, going to create a site where the public can rate the core truth of any article and track the credibility score over time for each journalist, editor and publication. Now that would be a great idea, so we can expose all of these fudsters out there. And 681,000 people voted, and it was a clear yes, this would be good. And GM released their earnings report, which was better than expected in terms of revenue and profits, mostly because they are doing great in the US right now with their ICE business. But GM's net income in Q1 was $2.3 billion, with a sale of 1.385 million vehicles. And remember, Tesla sold only 423,000 vehicles, but had a net income of 2.5 billion. But Tesla's numbers was bad according to Wall Street. Sure, GM sells 3 times the amount of vehicles, but earn less money. Tesla is still the one showing how it's done. But as all the other legacy OEMs that are not selling a lot of EVs, they are also down in China. GM is down from 243 million in profits in Q1 of last year to only 84 million in Q1 of this year. They are dying in China. Their sales dropped 25% in Q1. Ouch. If this has been Tesla, they would have been slaughtered in the mainstream media. And GM was down in total sales units by 3%. So they sold less cars, but the average selling price did go up of the cars, so that is why their revenue and profits are still looking pretty good. So GM continues the trend they have been seeing for the last 6 years, going down. And their global market share was now 8.6% compared to 9% of Q1 of 2022. And GM made a new partnership for battery production in the US with Samsung SDI. So good to see that GM finally in 2023 makes a partnership with more than one battery manufacturer. But this will only be for another 30 gigawatt hours and will not be ready before 2026. How in the hell do they expect to catch up with someone like Tesla when they build a brand new battery factory that can only produce 30 gigawatt hours? The Tesla Texas factory will produce 3 times more than that when ramped, and probably expand that to 200 to 250 gigawatt hours, as Elon has said before. And don't forget, if you are looking for some cool accessory for your Tesla, you can find all my affiliate link down in the description below or on my website bestintesla.com. Thank you so much for the support. And SpaceX and Tesla is still the #1 and #2 most desired places to work for engineers. As Elon wrote, yeah, Tesla gets to choose first and everyone else has to settle for Tesla's leftover. Sure, they will catch up any minute now. And a clear sign of the trouble for the legacy automakers continues, as Stellantis is asking the more than 33,500 employees to consider over the coming weeks to take voluntary buyouts. Just like GM, they are trying to find some savings very fast, as their ICE business is going down. And Huawei and the Chinese self-driving car companies are developing alternative technology to high-definition maps, as the precision required for autonomous driving makes the mapping process prohibitively expensive. No, you don't say. High-definition maps are very expensive, said Huawei senior executive at the auto show in Shanghai. We have been collecting data in Shanghai for 1 or 2 years, but we still have not been able to cover the 9,000 kilometers of city roads. So, as we have been saying for years, LiDAR is too expensive and too difficult to ever make work at scale. And the Chinese are now starting to realize this. As Elon has said, LiDAR is a fool's errand. But Waymo and Cruise, good luck. And Elon met with the South Korean president. The meeting took place at Elon's request, and the president asked Elon to build a gigafactory in South Korea and said, should Tesla decide to invest, we will provide active support in terms of location, workforce and taxes. So maybe a new gigafactory on the way for the next-gen car in Asia, or maybe even Optimus. South Korea would be a great place to build that. And the International Energy Agency says the price of a small EV model will rival those of combustion engine cars by mid-2020s. Agree. That is what many of us has been saying for years. ICE will be dead in only a couple of years. If you haven't seen my video about this week, you should definitely check that one out. And let's end off with a little bit of fun. If you can't afford a car, please don't do this. Yeah, that is just stupid. Don't try that at home. And that is all we have time for in this news show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help this video out a lot, so others can find it here on YouTube. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. And don't forget, if you want to get access to news articles every day, Monday to Friday, the video series Becoming News, and much, much more, go over to bestintesla.com and join the executive producers over there. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. And if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel and get your shout out on this show. You can also become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out and some extra perks. Hit the members button to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I tweet all the news as it comes out and more. And check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. Now it's also possible to support the show without buying anything, becoming a member or a patron. There is a link to a donation options in the show notes. And also as simple as hitting the super like button. But going forward, I will be making more videos for patrons and members only. And I will give my YouTube members and patrons early access to my videos whenever possible and make my videos ads free for members and patrons only. So don't miss out. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.